All right, hello students. Let's move on with lesson 7, associated ratios and the value of a ratio. So now we're going to start taking the ratios that we've been talking about and kind of setting a value to them, kind of applying a fractional form to it again. All right, so let's go and look at example 1. Which of the following correctly models the number of red gumballs associated with the numerator? So let's go look at example 2. It says the duration of two films are modeled below. So we have film A and film B. So first thing we should do is just kind of look at how many boxes. Film A right here, we're going to associate red with film A. There's one, create that, use blue for film B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, of course, this lines up, 6 and 7. B has 7 boxes, or a length of 7. We look at problem A. Now this isn't a multiple choice question. These are different problems because there wasn't a question up here. So what's being presented in A is something for us to do. The ratio of the length of film A to the length of film B is. Well, this is something we've seen before in our kind of different examples. So let's go ahead and get out the green pen. The ratio of film A to film B is, well, film A is 5. So let's go ahead and write 5 because that comes first. Film B is 7. That comes second. So that comes second in our ratio. So there you go. That's kind of the types of ratios we've been talking about kind of for the past 6 lessons. Well, now let's go and look at B. So now we're going to take kind of this ratio and now write it into fractional form. The length of film A is blank over blank of the length of film B. Well, what fraction is film A of B? Well, film A comes first. Well, film A, the length of film A would go on top. What film A is actually kind of worth, or in this case, length, would go on top. Film B, kind of what we're associating it to, would come on bottom or on the denominator. So of course film B is 7, so of course we'd write the 7 in the denominator. So film A is 5/7 of the length of film B. And of course, as you can see here, it only goes up to 5, and of course the bottom here is 7. So this would be our denominator, and this would be our numerator. Well, if we switch the wording around, we also have to switch the fraction around. So we look at C here, it says the length of film B is blank blank of the length of film A. Oh, film B once again is 7. Film A, of course. So if we remember our fractions, okay, this is called an improper fraction. The top number is bigger than the bottom. So that means that the top one is a longer film, or of course is a bigger than the bottom number. So of course film B is of course longer, or 2 units longer than the bottom. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing in this lesson. We're going to take our ratios that we've been working with and now start associating a value to them in fractional form. All right, so go ahead and stop the video, go ahead and move on to the next video, and let's go over some exercises. All right, hello students. Let's go over exercise 1 together. Remember, whenever you see a text box here, it's not on your page, it's just for me. Don't worry about writing that in. All right, so let's go over some information that they give us. Sammy and Caden went fishing using live shrimp as bait. Sammy brought 8 more shrimp than Caden brought. When they combined their shrimp, they had 32 shrimps together. All right, so we have 2 individuals going fishing. We have Sammy. I'm going to use S for Sammy. And we have Caden. And they went shrimp to go fishing with. And altogether, that shrimp equaled 32. Well, give us a little bit more information here. Let's go and use our red pen. Sammy brought 8 more shrimp than Caden. So Sammy brought 8 more or 8 additional shrimp than Caden. But still, altogether, they had was 32. So the question is, how much did each individual bring? Well, this is kind of a guess and check type of problem. You also could do some different type of math. But I want you to go ahead and try to figure out how many shrimp that Sammy brought and how many shrimp that Caden brought to equal 32. So go ahead and pause the video for a moment and try to figure out what you think the answer would be. And please use pencil to fill this in. And when you try to figure it out, please come back. All right, so hopefully you hopefully came up with Sammy brought 20 pieces of shrimp and Caden bought 12 pieces of shrimp. Altogether, that adds up to 32, and 20 is 8 more than 12. Okay, there's a number of ways you could have done it, so hopefully you came up with one, but that's kind of the information we had to come up with or develop. So let's go ahead and answer our question for A. It says, how many shrimp did each boy bring? Well, here it is. Sammy brought 20, Caden bought 12. So let's go ahead and type that in or write that in. Here we go. Sammy brought, 20 shrimp. Don't need to capitalize it. And Caden brought 12 shrimp. All right, so please make sure we answer the question. This is our work that we did to answer the question, but this is the answer to the question. So let's go ahead and even put an A over here for answer. So please make sure we answer the question appropriately. All right, so let's go and look at B now. B says, what is the ratio of number of shrimp Sammy brought to number of shrimp Caden bought? Well, let's go ahead and kind of taking the information from above. Remember, Sammy came first, Caden came second. So how many did Sammy bring? Sammy brought 20 shrimp. And of course, we can use a colon, we can use the word 2, and Caden brought 12 shrimp. So there's our basic ratio based on the information provided. It would simply be a 20 to 12 ratio. All right, that would be it for that problem. Let's go ahead and move on to problem C. All right, so still kind of using the information provided. We don't really get any more information yet, but let's go ahead and look at problem C. It says express the number of shrimp Sammy brought as a fraction. So now we got to take that information from B, and then we got to write it as a fraction of the number of shrimp Caden brought. So let's go ahead and look back what we had. Once again, we had Sammy had 20, Caden had 12. So let's go ahead and express that as a fraction over here. So of course, Sammy came first. And we can even write the numbers here. Let's go and write the numbers here just so I don't have to keep going backwards. And Caden brought 12. So Sammy brought 20, so Sammy came first, so it would go on top. And Caden brought 12. So this is a fraction to show the value of the amount of shrimp that Sammy brought in relation to the amount of shrimp that Caden brought. So there you go. That's it. That's just taking the ratio and creating a fraction. All right, let's go and look at D now. What is the ratio? So now we're going to create a ratio again of number of shrimp Sammy brought to the total number of shrimp. Okay, so here we go. That's a little bit different. Okay, so we're still creating a ratio. Okay, but Sammy still comes first, so the 20 would come first. We can use the word 2, or we could use a colon. Let's go and use a colon. But now instead of comparing it to Caden of 12, we're comparing it to the total. Well, now if we remember from the before, we can even add these two together. We can look back. The total number of shrimp that were brought here were 32. Okay, so that would be the other number that would be going with the ratio. The total number of shrimp is 32. So there you go. So there is the ratio that they gave us, or the information they gave us, written as a ratio. All right, and the last one, E, for this problem. Let's go ahead and grab blue. Now, what fraction, so that's what they're asking us to do, what fraction of the total shrimp did Sammy bring? All right, now this is worded a little bit differently, okay, because in the first one, or up here, this said Sammy brought as a fraction of the number of shrimp Caden brought. Because the word fraction is in between here, Sammy would go on top and Caden would go on bottom. But because it's written like this, what fraction of the total, this kind of fraction of the total, this represents our denominator. Okay, so this one's kind of written backwards. What fraction of the total shrimp? This right here would represent the denominator of the fraction. Okay, because fraction of the total. So of course 32 would go on bottom. Did Sammy bring? So what Sammy brought now would of course go to the top. This one's written a little bit backwards, but because of the language, because of the wording, fraction of the total, this kind of wording right here, fraction of the total goes on bottom, and what Sammy has now goes on top. And of course, Sammy had 20. So this would be the value of the shrimp that Sammy brought in relation to the total. Sammy brought 20 shrimp in relation to the 32 total shrimp that were there. All right, so wording is important. We have to make sure that we kind of look at the wording of a fraction indicating the denominator, fraction of the number of shrimp Caden brought. So that would indicate the denominator. And even if we look back at the one before it, same thing. Oh, I'm sorry, there was nothing. I'm sorry, I was back on the last video. So we have to kind of look at the wording, and the fraction of the total, or a fraction of the Caden shrimp, represents the denominator. So it's kind of wanted to use that time to kind of clarify, to make sure we're using the proper number as the denominator. All right, so you can go and stop. Oh, sorry, what you're going to do now, sorry, don't stop the video. You and your partner are going to start working on exercise number 2. So you and your partner are going to read through this information and start answering the questions as you go down. So you can go ahead and stop the video at this time and go and start working on this with your neighbor.